Good afternoon, guys. Happy Monday. Welcome to episode 2 of Let's Talk with Lee Hertzfield from Conquer Your Confidence, or you may know me from Alpha Tenacity. So last week, episode 1 was about worrying. This week, episode 2 is going to be about more intense worrying, which we may know as anxiety. Myself, I've had my own issues with anxiety in the past, which some of you may know from my blog on www.conqueryourconfidence.com. But to give you a brief summary, about 2 or 3 years ago, had a nice calm day. Didn't really feel like I had anything to worry about. I can remember lying in bed just before sleep time, and I could feel like this. I could feel my heart racing, and the only way I can describe it, I could feel like this sense of like impending doom. I could feel my heart racing. I could feel a numbness in my arm. I had heavy sweating. And I'm not gonna lie, I was a little bit scared, to be truthful. Like it had all the symptoms of a heart attack. So anyway, we actually an ambulance came. And they checked all my vitals, like my blood pressure, my heart, my lungs. Everything came back perfect. And the on-call paramedic said to me, "Oh, actually, you might be suffering from anxiety." And which actually, to be honest, it kind of caught me by surprise. And as much as I hate to say it, almost I thought it was a bit laughable, because at the time I didn't really think I had anything to worry about. But anyway, as life went on, I actually suffered with 4 more, what they call panic attacks, and each one more intense. So I built myself a strategy, that how I was going to solve this, because I couldn't live like this, like any time that my worries increased, I would have this panic attack or this anxiety attack. And if like me, you've had this before, it can be quite an intense feeling, and actually quite scary. So I built a strategy for myself on how I was going to overcome this. So that's what we're here today to talk to you about, anxiety. So we're going to talk about your triggers, We're going to talk about your coping strategies, We're going to give you some numbers on anxiety. Some of you might be surprised of actually how many people are in the same boat if you're suffering with anxiety. So why am I sharing this video with you today? Because I think for most of us now, and I'm certainly seeing this through my own coaching sessions, my online coaching, and just generally talking to my friends on social media, I think we're seeing a massive increase now. And maybe because it's due to the pandemic and everyone being locked up inside, but we're seeing this huge increase in anxiety, because I think normally when life gets back to normal, we're so busy with our lives, our social life, our work life, we ignore these signs, and we bury them, we don't pay attention to them. But now that we've got all this time, a lot of people are seeing this anxiety increase. We're seeing huge numbers increase globally. And if you follow my stuff online, you're going to notice I post this statement a lot. Anxiety is the biggest plague on the earth right now. Forget COVID, you can actually see when we get into the numbers that actually the cases of COVID, the percentage of the population that's affected by COVID is not far off the same percentage that people are suffering with anxiety. So actually the biggest pandemic the world has ever seen in COVID, actually we've seen those same related numbers in anxiety. That's why I'm saying this is the biggest plague on the earth right now. And if we don't start to get our heads around and how we're going to solve this as individuals, and we don't start helping each other, then this plague is just going to grow and grow. And so guys, if you're suffering with anxiety, or you're watching this video and you know somebody that's possibly suffering anxiety, I ask you to share it with them. Okay, episode 2, anxiety. Let's go. So let's look at the numbers. The biggest age group affected by anxiety is 18 to 33-year-olds, And actually only 26% of the age group, or any age group, receive treatment. Anxiety is highly treatable. you know, and it's highly treatable without medication. Yeah, just for our own routines, we can solve anxiety. But 26% just don't receive any treatment. Worldwide, 275 million known cases of anxiety. That's just the ones that people have talked about. So the percentage of people affected globally by anxiety is 4%, which doesn't really seem like a lot. But actually, the percentage of people affected by COVID right now is actually 6% of the global population. So actually, when we look at that, we're actually on an even keel here of the world's biggest pandemic. And this is why I keep saying anxiety right now is the biggest plague on the earth. 62% of anxiety sufferers will be female. I mean, I put that stat on there, but I don't really believe it. I feel like it's probably a 50-50, but I feel like women and females would be a lot more open to talk about it. Females, you tend to be a lot more open and to discuss your feelings. Where, you know, guys, you know what we do? We bottle it up, we try to play the big guy, oh, I'm not suffering with anything, but when secretly, deep down, we are. And this is the big one. This one really shocked me when I looked at this. If you suffer with anxiety, and this is actually not really going to help you if you're anxiety suffering, but hey, we're gonna solve your issues by the end of this video. If you suffer with anxiety, you're 6 times more likely to be hospitalized for psychiatric disorders. So if you don't get to the root of why you're suffering anxiety, you're 6 times more likely to suffer with psychiatric disorders later on in your life. Which, when I read this, absolutely blew my mind. So now let's look at some of the symptoms. Some of the symptoms that people can suffer with through anxiety or through a panic attack is racing thoughts. You know, your thoughts are racing, you're worried about all this kind of different stuff that's going on in your life. Also with racing thoughts, a racing heart as well. Overthinking. You know, this is kind of the root of anxiety, you know, that constant overthinking, that negative overthinking. Feeling of dread, and this is the one that really hit me when I was suffering with anxiety. You know, it's that feeling of dread, that, like I said, that impending doom, that you just feel like everything is coming to an end. And the next one is physical. We get physical symptoms, and maybe some of you have had these, but you've not realised actually it's anxiety. So the physical one can be the heart racing, a numbness in your left arm. It does actually have some of the similar symptoms to a heart attack, you know, and sweating. Again, I suffer with this one. Sometimes I would just have intense sweat sessions where I'd just be sweating, my heart would be racing, my arm, and again, like I was saying, this whole impending doom, which is horrible. So if any of you are suffering, I really do know what you're going through. So let's talk about forms of anxiety. Actually, anxiety is not just lying down there worrying. It actually is a lot more deeper than that. You know, we get social anxiety, where we can be afraid of social situations. So what do? We stay in and we avoid those social situations. Next, you can have health anxiety, worried about your health. Another one, generalized anxiety. That's possibly the worst one, where you're just worried about everything. You know, doesn't matter what it is, social, health, financial, you're just worried about everything. Next, actually, phobias. Phobias is a kind of anxiety. So if you have a phobia of spiders or heights, you actually are a sufferer of anxiety. And OCD as well, that's a form of anxiety. So actually, anxiety is a much bigger topic than we give it credit for. You know, because you know what happens when you talk to somebody and you say, oh, I suffer of anxiety, they go, oh, don't be silly, just talk, or just don't worry, you know. But actually, when we're looking at it, the forms of anxiety, it's such a bigger topic. Okay, now let's look at some of the triggers. I mean, obviously some of the triggers are different for some people. But maybe as I go through, you're going to see one of these and you think, oh, okay, actually, that's one of my triggers. So we have to learn the triggers before we can start looking at the strategies and our coping methods. So let's get into the triggers. Number 1, negative thoughts. As soon as you start thinking negative, that can lead you to a panic attack or an anxiety attack. Social situations, as we said, social anxiety, the fear of social situations or meeting social groups. Again, this can be a trigger for anxiety. We have financial. Again, money. It's always the biggest worry for a lot of people right now. But again, financial, we can get financial anxiety where we're worried about money. Conflict and stress. Maybe there's a conflict between maybe a family member or a friend. You know, this constant overthinking of this conflict can lead us to the root of worrying. Then we take the more extreme step into anxiety. Stress. Again, stress is a kind of a combination of all. But if we're feeling very stressed right now because obviously everything that's going on in our life, you know, again, this can lead us into anxiety. Medications. Actually, this is quite a really good one. Actually, medications can cause anxiety. You know, and especially for you ladies, actually, birth control is one of the biggest ones that they don't pick up on. So maybe that's something to look at if you're suffering anxiety. Maybe just speak to your doctor, speak to your GP about your birth control. You know, so that's something to really be aware of. You know, and then we get our personal triggers, or this could be PTSD, or anything that's personal to us could trigger it. Obviously, I'm not sure at what stage of anxiety you're at right now, or even if you have anxiety, but we can get all different stages. Okay, guys, so now we've seen our triggers, we've seen our symptoms, yeah, we've looked at the numbers, which are pretty incredible, yeah. We may be now able to diagnose what form of anxiety we have. So now let's look at some coping methods, you know, because now it's time, now we've learned our triggers, now we know the symptoms, if you didn't know them before, now we can put a plan into place, a strategy, you know. So let's look at the coping methods that we can use to help us solve this anxiety problem. Number one, breathing exercises. 10 to 20 minutes a day of big, deep breaths in, big breaths out. 10 to 20 minutes a day. Get yourself into that calm state. 10 to 20 minutes a day, breathing exercises. Next one, I shared this term last week and I'm going to share it with you every week because this is so important. Take your meds. Meditation, exercise, diet, sleep. You know, and we can combine that with the breathing exercises. When we take that 10 to 20 minutes a day, meditation and breathing exercises combined. You know, we go into a meditative state, calm, we begin to free our mind of our worries. Deep breaths in, big deep breaths out. 10 to 20 minutes a day. Exercise. Okay, so I'm going to share with you an excellent routine, exercise routine that you can do if you're suffering anxiety. This is going to be something that's going to keep your energy levels high, yeah? So it's not depleting your energy levels. So it's going to keep you energized for the day and keep you energized to fight this, yeah? So 5 times a week, 30 minutes per day, yeah? This is going to be a walk and a jog. So over a 1 week period, 2.5 hours, yeah, of moderate exercise. So a walk, a brisk walk, yeah? The next, 1 hour of vigorous exercise. This is going to be jogging, running, swimming. Obviously we can't be swimming now, but so jogging, running, some HIIT exercises, 1 hour. So guys, your exercise plan to help with this issue is 3.5 hours a week, yeah? 2.5 hours of moderate exercise, 1 hour of vigorous exercise. Next in our meds is diet. You know, actually one of the some of the biggest triggers in actually anxiety, you know, can be found in our diet. So what we want to be avoiding in our diet is caffeine, alcohol, and skipping meals. These are some of the biggest triggers for anxiety. Caffeine, alcohol, skipping meals. So let's make sure, let's look at our diet. You know, is our diet affecting? Is our diet the trigger for anxiety? So, like I said, cut out the caffeine, cut out the alcohol. You know, Don't skip meals, because skipping a meal lowers your blood pressure, so therefore generally you just naturally feel more low. Next one is sleep. I know this is easier said than done. You know, if you're someone that's suffers with anxiety, you know, this can often materialize at night. So, but let's try looking at some of the calm apps. You know, that's what I really want for you to do. Look at some of the calming apps. You know, plan a little routine before you go to sleep. Start before, if your bedtime is 10 o'clock, you know, start at 8 o'clock. Start kind of getting yourself into a routine ready for you to sleep. So that's our meds. Yeah. Next, do your best. It's that simple. You know, so many of us, we try and aim for perfection. You know, when we don't reach perfection, we feel like we failed. But just do the best you can. You know, it's that simple, you know, because especially with anxiety sufferers, they actually always want to reach for perfection. But just do the best with what you've got. Next, a really important one. Accept that you can't control everything. We're just really mere mortals, you know, like life happens, you know, we can't control everything in our lives. You know, we can control the basics, we control maybe our meds, we can control our meditation, exercise, diet and sleep, but the rest of life is going to happen. So we just have to accept, you know, and that was one of the big things for me. It's like to have accept that I couldn't control what was going on around me, or I couldn't control how others saw me. I just had to work on myself. Kind of going back to, you have to give yourself self-confidence. Next one. This is the really important one. For myself, journal your triggers. This one worked really well for me. You know, get yourself a journal. Yeah. So when that anxiety or that panic attack starts to come on, you can feel it. You know your symptoms. You know your triggers now. So as it starts to come on, start noting what thoughts you're having, and that way you're going to learn your triggers. You know, so start journaling, you know, start jotting down your triggers. And actually this kind of works twofold, because what worked for me when I started to journal my triggers, it was actually had a calming effect on me. You know, it kind of took my mind off actually the anxiety or the panic attack, you know, so actually kept me calmer, and I was also learning my triggers. Next, rather than, we set such big goals for the year and such big monthly goals, you know, but really a good one is to set small daily goals, you know, because once we get that kind of increase in productivity by achieving those smaller goals, it's a knock-on effect, it's a snowball effect. So if we're more productive for the day, we're more productive for the next day, then we're more productive for the week, then we're more productive for the month, then over a yearly, we've seen like our production grow exponentially. So that's a really important one. Set small daily goals for yourself. The next one, and this is another one that worked for me, is structure your day. You know, some of us we just kind of get up, don't we? We don't really have a plan for the day, especially now while we're all locked up indoors. We just kind of wake up and we kind of just mooch around the house, not really knowing. You know, for our anxiety sufferers, this is such a terrible way to live. You know, start structuring your day. Start setting a bedtime. Start setting up a wake-up time. You know, when you wake up from the off, you know, as soon as your feet hit the floor, okay, now it's time, breathing time. You know, wake up, feet on the floor, breathe 10 to 20 minutes. You know, next, time to go for a workout. You know, start having this in your routine. Start to structure your day. You know, and as you're structuring your day, start to set these small daily goals. The next one, and with everything, you know, like everything, be patient with yourself and talk to somebody. When I say be patient, don't be so hard on yourself. I was very lucky to cure mine very quickly. It wasn't easy, but I was lucky enough to do it. I put my structure, I structured my day, you know, I put a plan of action into place. But be patient with yourself. Don't be so hard on yourself, because the end goal for us is to, it's not time, you know, obviously we want to solve it as quick as possible, but the main thing is that we solve it. So be patient. The next thing, talk to somebody, a support group. There's so many things online, you know, so many support groups, so many helping organizations that want to help you. You know, we've got www.wethink.org. You know, professionals, talk to somebody. You know, but it has to be the right person, because you know what happens when you talk to some of your friends, you know, especially if they don't quite understand because they've not suffered it themselves, they kind of just go with the attitude, oh, just stop worrying or be more confident. But as me and you know, if we've suffered with anxiety, it's not that easy. So talk to somebody, but make sure it's the right person. So guys, thank you for listening today. If you know somebody that's suffering with anxiety, I ask you to share this video with them. Maybe it's going to help them. Or maybe you just talk to them. You know, you be their support network and you support them to the right direction they need to take. So guys, thank you very much. Episode 2, anxiety. Be safe, stay strong, stay motivated. Have a good day.